leaving my wife and ruining the affair partner's marriage. Hi, I wanted to share this for a while. Interested in people's thoughts on this. It's a weird as hell situation, and it's been a very, very painful year and a half for me and my family. About 10 months ago, my wife of 18 years casually told me that a coworker was having a vasectomy and asked me what I thought of that. It said I was surprised a coworker would be talking about such a personal thing at work. And then she told me that they had become quite close friends. And then she smiled, a warm smile at thinking about him. I instantly knew something was not right. So that night, I waited until she was asleep and checked her messages on her computer. It turns out she's been texting this guy for the last 3 months. They went to a dinner at a mutual friend's, which my wife had told me she would be at, but had said that it was just her and her female friend. She omitted to tell me about the coworker. Fast forward 2 weeks, I have to travel out of town to see my family, taking my son with me. Turns out she had arranged lunch with this guy, but bailed at the last minute, which is innocuous in itself. But she was so utterly distraught at this cancellation and arranged to meet him on the waterfront where his son had rock climbing lessons instead. In short, she was desperate to see him. That afternoon, she had friends over, and they talked about me and him. She said they were just friends, and with him and her other female friend, she could get all her needs met. Well, almost all her needs. She did note, that doesn't leave much for my husband though. She talked and compared me to him, talking about how he was such a great talker and I'm not much of a talker. At one point, she talks about how hard it is him canceling on her, saying, it's not like having a husband on tap. So I watch and wait for a while. I manage to get access to her emails and watch their ongoing flirting. I go up to her work and see the two of them hanging out in the park, laughing and laughing. Turns out they have lunch together every day. She leaves work early on Thursday at 3 p.m. and they go to a bar for 3 hours. And then she walks him almost all the way home before she turns around and walks back into town for her Pilates lesson. Perfect cover. About once a month, they take a long, 3-hour or so lunch break together. I confront her and break down. She denies everything, tells me lie after lie. We eventually get into marriage counseling where the counselor tells me I need to give her space, and she needs to give me reassurance. Well, for 6 months I give her space, but I get no reassurance in return. In fact, she uses the space to get to spend more and more time with him. Eventually, the counselor tells her she needs to park her friendship with this guy as it has caused a lot of damage to your marriage. She's very quiet for a few days, and then she asks that we stop seeing our marriage counselor. She pleads for time until she can get a new therapist. In the meantime, she has stopped seeing her therapist after she told her everything. I don't know what everything entails, probably a number of things I'm not aware of. And the therapist said that it sounded like she was the bad guy. She hires a second therapist and tells the new therapist about me raging, being angry, controlling her movements, etc., but nothing about the affair partner. So to the new therapist, I seem like a controlling maniac and emotional abuser. The therapist gives an off-the-cuff diagnosis of me as a classic narcissist, and that gives my wife the justification she needs to separate and seem like the good person to her friends and family. The crazy thing is, it's clear this guy doesn't feel the same way, and she seems to have destroyed our entire marriage for what amounts to a schoolgirl crush. It's possible he is only partially aware of the depth of her feeling for him. My head spins. Now it seems she is still gaga for him, but is now dating guys on Tinder because she's lonely and he has, a family and a wife. It's all weird as hell, but makes a kind of twist and sense, I guess. Update. I went to see the other man's partner and told her what I knew. She told me it wasn't possible, that they were just friends, and that her husband was amazing. I think she thought I was crazy. Apparently, she called her husband straight away, but then called my ex-wife, who texted my sister expressing concern for my mental state. No doubt there will be churn and blowback, but I feel more at peace now. Anyway, I've done my bit. She deserved to know, and now she knows. She can do with it what she will. Time to move on. From the OG Templar Knight. You did what you had to do by letting the wife know what you did. The ball is now on her court to do with it what she will. Did you give her any proof, or just tell her what you've been through? Perhaps she will contact you one day wanting more. Perhaps not. Either way, you did the right thing. Time to move on and live your best life. Next thought from Jojo Coder. Literally everybody around you is lying to you and themselves. Cajun Templar chimes in. You did the right thing. Guy knows he's spending an inappropriate time with someone else's wife and causing issues in a marriage. He's trash too. You need to divorce your wife. She's a primary culprit and she isn't stopping even when caught. Moving on. Emotional, physical affair with a very manly lesbian? Not sure how to start this, so I guess I'll start from the beginning. My wife and I got married in August of last year. It was the happiest day of our lives. She's perfect for me in every way. We never argue, never get upset at each other, had a good sex life. We were close, and I trust her completely. Fast forward 1 year. She's in college and I hardly ever saw her. She was home most of the time, but locked away in the office working on school, telling us, me and two boys, 10 and 13, to not bother her. So we obliged. After school finished, she told me she felt distance between us and it bugged her. I felt this too and we agreed to work on it. I thought everything was going good once again. Now, fast forward to 6 weeks. She has a taste for alcohol, but I always trusted her as she was only hanging out with her girlfriends. But she made a new friend, a girl named Alyssa. She was gay and very, very boyish. Arms bigger than mine, short hair, looks like a boy straight up. I felt off about it immediately, as she said they're just friends. But I know my wife is a closet bi, so I asked if she thought Alyssa was attractive. She said no, then said kinda when she's drunk. I let it go, thinking distrust will only breed negative feelings. 4 weeks ago, my wife says she's going out for a couple's drinks with a girlfriend and doesn't come home until 6 a.m. I was up all night looking for her. I asked her girlfriend if she was with her, and she said no, that she went home. When I asked my wife where she was, she says she was with that girl. I called her on her lie, and she said she was with Alyssa, and thought I would be mad. I was mad that she lied, not that she was with this girl. The next weekend, she asked to go out with the girl again, and I said yes. Then again 2 days later, while she had work in the morning. I get a bad feeling about it, and I trust my gut. So looked at her phone and saw some pretty flirty, sexy, dirty texts between them. I confronted her immediately, and she said they only packed a few times and cuddled in bed. I don't believe her, because that's a lot of time to be together and a lot of dirty texting between them for some pecks and cuddles. Texts including wishing each other would undress, etc. Turns out it was the beginning of a budding affair. My wife said we were distant and she was drunk and it caused her to do this. I lost my crap and said I wanted to separate. She begged and pleaded and said she would never talk to her again and that she would be rid of her. I saw a text from my wife even telling her that they need to stop. I figured it was a girl, even though manly AF. I was trying to salvage that for my own feelings. I agreed to stay. I actually agreed to even take some blame and tried working on things immediately, even though it really hurt and bugged me that she went out of our marriage to get these feelings. We went out the next weekend and got a room and had some drinks and had a great time. We went home and same thing, had an awesome time. I woke Sunday morning and she was still sleeping, and I checked her phone again. Turns out, when we went out, the second I fell asleep, she started talking to Alyssa again. She tried deleting the evidence too. The first time I caught her because I checked her text trash bin. This time when I looked, that was empty, but I looked at her contact history and saw 28 texts between them while I was sleeping. Not even 48 hours later, and she already went back to her. I figured this time I wouldn't say I knew. I just asked her if they talked. That way she had a chance to tell me the truth. She did not. She lied. I'm supposed to close on a house for us 3 hours away in 2 weeks, and I have 2 boys that I had before we married. This Alyssa girl, as I said, is a super manly lesbian who plays male roles and is experienced in home wrecking. My wife wants counseling, but I hold grudges hard, and I don't know if counseling will work. I love my wife, but every time I think of this, I just hate her guts. I'm debating divorce. Honestly, I'm just scared of the chaos that will follow. My wife is supposed to start school in January, which is the whole reason I bought this house 3 hours away. My boys nor I have any reason to move. It was all for her. Not sure how I feel about it. She seems sympathetic, but I can't tell if it's because she actually regrets it or if she's just worried about getting her butt into school. If I cancel this house, she'll have to move back in with her mom and she won't make it to college. I feel dumb for still worrying about her. She is obviously attached to this woman, and I know I don't know the whole truth. What do you guys think? I guess I don't know what I'm looking for here. I have nobody to talk to about this, and I'm kinda just feeling lost on what to think or feel and do. Kids have no idea this is happening. Older one is suspicious. I'm really self-conscious with the fact she cheated on me with another woman, especially since the one is very butch and looks just like a guy. I'm not against gays or anything, but I'm a traditional old-school mate. This just kind of diminished my masculinity, pride, and dignity. Basically, I feel like an idiot, especially after I forgave her, as she ran right back to her once my guard was down. Terser78 has her first response. Gender doesn't matter. Clearly, your wife is in denial regarding her sexuality. The fact that even when confronting with losing you, she still went back to her tells you everything. Do not close on this house with her. Cancel that immediately. You'll take a financial loss, but it'll only be worse if you sign on the line. Your wife feels guilty but remorseful because she couldn't give her affair partner up even when faced with divorce. Sexuality is no excuse to cheat. She went the absolute worst way to discover her sexuality and hurt you the worst way possible. The marriage is over. You have to come to terms with that, as difficult as it may seem. Protect your children, because the environment is turning toxic very fast to them. Start to create the separation needed. And look for support to Our Path. It's specifically for straight spouses that discover their partners are gay. Next thought comes from Armor T 227. This needs to be a must. OP, you're being duped. Your wife doesn't regret any of it, just getting caught. As she doesn't love you, you have to reevaluate two options now. One, do you really want to settle as second place knowing that she now put you in third? And two, do you really want your kids to live to the both of you living in a space of lies and mistrust? Remember, she cheated on them too. Don't reward her by taking her back. Let her go, brother. Time to file for that divorce. What crisis has her last thought? You're being played, mate. She wants the security of your relationship while eating her as well. Pun intended. You've caught her once and gave her a second chance. She's completely blown that chance. Lied by omission. Lied to your face. Deleted texts. How could you ever, and I do mean ever, trust her again? For me, she would be out the door. You're not married. Good luck.